land of ours and fill a sportsman's dreams. Enjoy what nature holds for us, her bounty never ends. Getting back to basics with the practical sportsman. It's always an adventure, no matter where we go. From a favorite hunting spot to the hottest fishing hole. Outdoor life we all can share with family and friends. We'll do it all together with a practical sportsman. We'll do it all together with a practical sportsman.
Hello, sportsmen. Come on in. We're doing a countdown to our new TV season, which begins September 9th. That's when we're going to start producing 36 brand new shows, brand new material, head to tail, every week. And that'll start in just 3 weeks. Right now, we're going to look at some classics. We have some ideas on how you can become a more practical sportsman. So stay tuned. Well, I tell you, that's a good eating size. We have a showcase here at the museum with some classic lures in it. These are actually sort of Michigan classics used on the Detroit River and St. Clair River for walleye early in the spring. They're called pencil plugs. They imitate smelt and they're designed to be trolled, not casted. Now, a lot of the old walleye anglers trolled these with hand lines, but some of the anglers nowadays use heavy rods and reels like Larry Lixie from Port Huron.
This rod is about like an ice fishing rod, Larry. That's about a 3-footer. Huh?
Yeah, it's good and stiff. It gives a little bit. I kind of changed away from that one because that one gave too much.
Oh yeah, this is too limber.
Too limber.
Yeah. Okay, we got a sinker here that's about what ounce? 2 ounces?
About 2.5 ounces.
And what a rig here of swivels.
You got a dropper. You got a
Yeah.
3-way leading to a front lead.
Okay, now let's see this on the front lead. Let's see, you have about
6 foot.
6 foot of line.
Yep.
Okay, now here's your classic pencil plug. Right there. Oh, and you're tied right at the end. Fish has to come in from the side and grab this.
Yep. They grab it top, bottom.
Okay, and then we run right behind it another 6 feet.
Yep.
And where do the fish usually hit? The last one?
Both.
Both of them, huh? Okay,
Yep.
we'll toss it over.
No, we ain't gonna toss them over. We're gonna put this in the water like that.
I see. Put that one in first.
Then put it in there like that.
Run that one behind it.
Like that. And
Now.
that should work pretty good.
How much line do I let out?
You will feel it hit bottom.
And that's what I'm waiting for.
Yep. There,
There.
you should have hit bottom.
Yeah.
All right, now you work it, just bounce it on the bottom. Go back, let out a little bit of line, and keep bouncing it back.
Oh, so we're dropping back.
Yep, you're going to keep dropping back. Lift it up. You don't have to lift so far.
Don't have to lift like
No,
where?
especially in the spring, you don't hardly have to move that rod. You only want to move it so you can keep moving your bait back down the river. You'd like to get out about 100 to 125 feet of line.
Now, how
So
do I
you're
know
working-
when?
You just got to guess.
Oh, I
That's
see.
something you learn with experience.
So you have it on free spool all the time.
Right. If you catch a fish, you hold it with your thumb and hit the lock and crank to fish it.
This technique for walleye isn't designed for action or a royal battle. Walleye fishermen fish to eat. That's what they like about walleye. And their fishing techniques are designed to put fish in the boat.
Gotta let out a little bit at a time.
Well, this shouldn't be too tough. We're going to hand line him aboard. Tim's got one too?
Uh-oh, I got a net for it.
Well, we got a little one. Boy, I tell you, that's a good eating size. A good eating size.
Long body baits that imitate smelt work best in the spring.
Let's get him in without a net. There he is. It looks like he's hooked pretty good.
Walleye in the spring can run good sized. Well, you can catch them like this now, but not as easily as in May and June. Now, Larry Lixie has one on, and I know what you're going to say. What, now there's one pencil plug on his line, there's a second one down a few feet, a third pencil plug, and the walleye hit the last one. That's 4 plugs on one line.
About 4.5, 5 pounds.
Oh. That is a nice one. Wow.
So is it legal to run 4 plugs on one line? Well, yes, it is in Michigan. The law says an angler can't fish with more than 4 hooks or lures, and the angler can't use more than 2 lines. but all 4 hooks or lures can be run from one line. There's no limit to 2 hooks on one line, and sometimes running 4 lures or 4 hooks can be a practical way to catch fish. Do you know the most popular game bird in America? Now, it's not a wild turkey, not pheasant, not grouse, not ducks or geese. No, it's the dove, the mourning dove. Now, we don't have a season here in Michigan, but we're only one of a handful of states in the country that doesn't have a dove season. In Indiana, they legalized dove hunting about 8 or 9 years ago. At the same time we were trying to do that in Michigan. We didn't do it, they did. I went down there and videotaped a feature to find out what dove hunting and what this controversy was all about.
Pete,
Yes, sir.
tell me about dove hunting in Indiana. We thought we were going to have a season, and then we figured we weren't, and it's in the courts back and forth. You had a similar problem to this in Indiana last year, didn't you?
Yes, the citizens of Indiana that enjoyed hunting really got behind it in this one particular instance, and so many letters were written, so many phone calls were received by the legislators that it swung the dove season around in our favor, and we were able to get one.
Still have a little last-minute shooting here for the doves. Well, that was a year ago, your first dove season in Indiana. From what you know about our Michigan experience with the Humane Society and so on, does it seem like you had about the same problems we did?
Yes, it seems just about exactly the same problems, but I think the sportsmen in Indiana, in this one instance at least, overwhelmed everything else, and were able to get their season through.
Now, this is your second year.
This is our second year of dove hunting.
What has happened as far as the adverse public opinion in the second year?
I haven't heard of any adverse publicity at all. There probably are some people that have written letters, but to my knowledge, none of them have come to light here.
Does that surprise you?
It did, especially right after our first year. But now that we've had a year and the intervening non-season in between, and then no backlash for this season, I'd say things are going very well for the hunter.
Why wasn't there a backlash down here this season? How do you read that?
I don't understand. It just must be that it wasn't the overwhelming atrocity that some people thought it might be. Perhaps the word got through that it is a viable species, that there is an excess that can be hunted, and maybe they're not going to begrudge the hunter his due.
But dove hunting in the South is very much a if I can use the word, genteel sport. Lots of guys that have been hunting doves for years together. They get together, they meet at a farm. They pay farmers money to crop fields certain ways, so they'll track doves. They have a nice leisurely shoot. They go back to the farmhouse. They have a big barbecue before they go home. It's a very, very social event. Lots of times their wives will come out and meet them for the barbecue afterwards. Down in Tennessee, where I go every year to hunt doves, this is a big social event of the season.
I don't know what the population estimate is for Michigan, but we would expect the effect on the population of doves in Michigan to be the same as it is on doves in any other state, and that's none. When the Fish and Wildlife Service conducted a study of dove and dove hunting and non-dove hunting states from 1975 to 1980, they found that the breeding effort, number of breeding birds, number of birds in hunted and unhunted states to be virtually identical.
Was it in Indiana more of an emotional reaction against hunting doves than a biological reaction?
Definitely. We have quite a few people that live in the cities, and they go by what they've seen at their bird feeder and what they've seen on television, and not necessarily how things actually are on the land. Many of our people are quite removed from the land, and they may not understand the exact biological nature of things.
What is the biological nature that they don't understand?
Probably that there is an excess of doves, that many of them are going to pass away, if you will, whether they're hunted or not, and there are some people who enjoy hunting and should be allowed to hunt, and it won't harm the species at all.
What about what happens to doves? What happened to the doves in this state when they were not hunted?
Most of them probably went down Well, most of them died naturally, let's say up to 80% a year from hawks, owls, winter, ice, cold. Those that didn't probably moved south more and more as the temperature got worse, and ended up just overwintering in the south and then came back here in the spring.
Okay, you say 80% mortality of doves. It's estimated to be 70-80%. If hunters take 10%, wouldn't that mean added to the 70 or 80% that there would only be 10% left?
No, there was one lady that told me that 80% are going to die naturally and hunters want to kill the other 20%, but that's not the way it is. The hunters portion comes off the top almost. It's like the cream off the top, and only those that die of natural causes after the hunting just bring it down to the natural 30 or 20% that are going to overwinter anyhow and come back in the spring.
So the hunter's take is a part of the 70%.
Yes, it doesn't eat into the to the 20 or 30% that are going to overwinter and come back.
Are the doves that frequent people's bird feeders around the suburbs the same doves that are flying out here in the fields?
Banding practices have shown that that's probably not the case, that if a dove flies 5 miles maybe for his to his feeding area, and we don't, for instance, get any birds here from Fort Wayne or LaGrange or even Mongo for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
They're all birds from right around this area that are coming here.
So backyard birds tend to be backyard birds.
That's true.
Wild birds of the field tend to stay wild.
That's true. People who grew up in the city like the city. People who grew up in the country generally like the country.
Same with birds.
Yes, sir.
As far as I'm concerned, from a hunting point of view, it's another animal. They certainly are beautiful animals, but I don't feel that hunting the doves will interfere with other people's enjoyment of doves. I've lived in 2 other states, Maryland and Virginia specifically, hunted doves in both states, and they still came to the bird feeders there, and they still behaved the same way as they do here in Michigan. And in a very short while, I'll be taking a little bit of a vacation in Maryland, and the doves still come to my mother's feeder right through dove season. So from that point of view, I can't understand those objections.
Did you get any complaints that people had less doves at their bird feeders this past winter?
Some of the staunch non-hunters in this area actually thought that there were more doves around, and they said that they understood that it did not harm the season.
That's about as good as an endorsement as you can get for the biological
Yes.
reasons for hunting.
And these people that I know would go out of their way to tell me if they thought it had hurt the season or hurt the dove population, and they just admitted that it did not.
Okay, Steve, you were born and raised in Michigan.
Yes.
Came down here to work for the Department of Natural Resources.
Yes.
So you know the attitudes and the sentiments in Michigan. You've heard about them. You can probably understand them or not.
Well, I guess most of the people that I'm acquainted with are hunters and fishermen, and I think their sentiments towards dove hunting would be pretty well appreciated if they could get exposed to it. I think everybody looks at the mourning dove at first as a bird of peace, but I think if they ever come and had a hunting opportunity like this, they'd probably change their mind because they are quite a sporting bird.
There are a lot of birds, though, that would be sporting. Blackbirds, starlings. You know, they're open.
Yes.
People don't shoot them. Too
Well,
small to eat?
No, I don't think they're probably as good eating as the mourning dove, and I think it's probably tradition that you really don't eat a blackbird or a crow or a starling unless you're really starved, but the mourning dove is a very excellent eating bird and eats mostly grain and that type of stuff.
Do you find that most hunters who hunt for them eat the doves?
Yes, I do. Almost everybody last year, anyways, when we got started, were wondering about certain recipes and how to fix them and how to that. They weren't really sure how to do it, but everybody I know fixed them and ate them because they're very delicious to eat.
A real treat on the table, abundant in the fields, and the most challenging game bird to wing shooters all over the country is the mourning dove. hitting speeds of 60 miles an hour. Most of them get away, living only a few months longer before Mother Nature deals with their bulging populations through other methods. Now, our hunting party averaged 9 doves apiece during the early season hunt in Indiana. Now, I think I had the least doves, but the most shells to show for my afternoon. But there's a good meal there. Now, when you're shopping for shotgun shells, you'll find the lighter loads are called dove and quail loads. 35 states hunt doves. Out of an estimated 500 million birds, hunters take about 50 million. But unless there's a big change in our state, dove hunting won't be part of the hunting scene in the state of Michigan. People ask me all the time if Michigan is going to have a dove season. Well, I don't see any move afoot to do it right now, maybe sometime in the future. But for the time being, the cottontail rabbit will have to be Michigan's #1 small game animal, and our smallest game bird, well, it'll probably remain for a while at least, as the woodcock, this little long-billed creature. Now, don't let this list of ingredients worry you. The recipe is simple, and you're likely to have all you need, except for maybe the rabbit in your kitchen and refrigerator. Luana Helmick from Mason said you will frequently find rabbit in her kitchen.
Well, rabbit is a kind of favorite meat for us, and again, you look for varieties, ways of preparation, and this original recipe was from a northern French province, and it features fresh herbs in a garnet bouquet, but I've adapted it by trying this and that. It turns out to be very versatile, very servable. It's the kind of thing you can fix ahead and store it, freezes well, and it's just become a real family favorite for us.
Is it the family's favorite way of eating rabbit or one of the favorites?
I think it's clearly the favorite.
What about you, John?
I tell you, the timber doodle was wonderful. I mean, they have half the acorn, you got your vegetable, the bird itself, the stuffing was wonderful, kind of perky, really nice. But I'm going to have to go with the rabbit.
Okay.
The rabbit was prepared just perfectly. I'm not voting nearly as much for the recipe as the way it was prepared. That rabbit was so tender and flaky. It was prepared just perfect.
Now, we're going to do this perch party trip with Q106 radio station in Lansing. Tim Barron was supposed to be here on this show. Since he wasn't, I'm going to go talk to him in just a minute. Have a good weekend. We'll see you next week. We're going to walk in. Tim Barron of Q106 is on the air. Excuse me, guys. What? Huh? What? No, hold it. We're on the air now.
What the hell is Fred?
You would not, you couldn't make time in your schedule to come to my TV studio, could you? You couldn't make time, could you?
Look, I had a very busy day, Fred. I'm sorry I couldn't
excuses,
make it.
excuses. I don't have a lot. These are the comics, eh?
Yeah, these are the comics.
Okay.
That's Lewis over there. He sounds like an old Western guy, but guess
yes,
what?
like Yosemite
He's a black
Sam. Okay. All right.
That's Rob Lobster over there.
Rob Lobster and Little Deb.
And Little Debbie. And,
okay.
These are the mixed vegetables. You got to introduce the mixed vegetables too.
Okay, Tim, I'm on a schedule. You see, I do a TV show.
Oh, pardon me, mister.
This is Tim Barron, the man
Hi.
behind the voice, most popular radio voice of the morning shows in Middle Michigan, right?
All over.
All over. Okay. We are doing, hey, I only got a few seconds here. We got a perch fishing trip that we're doing.
Yes, you and I are doing the perch fishing trip, and it's huge.
It is. It's August 28th.
That's right.
You are giving away trips here at the radio station.
Look, I'll show you.
You will? We don't have time for this, Tim. I have a television show.
Oh, relax.
He doesn't understand. He's here for 4 hours.
Here I am, joined Rear Admiral Tim Barron. And
yes.
Trost.
Radio is a lot looser than TV, I'll tell you,
sorry.
folks. Huh?
Gosh, folks, come on down. We'll have some good fishing.
We are. We're going to have a fishing trip, 2 party boats at Captain Nichols.
It'll be huge.
The Q106 bus, and the theme of this, from my perspective, is the fun of fishing.
It is.
You know, I'm glad to bring fishing to the radio audience and people who maybe haven't tried it.
Everybody's going to have a really, really good time. You can win these on the radio, or you can call Fred's place and buy on the boat.
That's right. Now, with these 2 charming faces, can you imagine the people fishing with us? It's going to be a wild and crazy time, folks. Tim, I'm out of here.
Okay.
This is a television show.
Yes,
we have.
But, you know.
Hey, we're going to have to bleep a lot. Hey, guys, sorry to cut in on your time.
Bye-bye.
We're out of here. Now, what do you say at Q106?
See ya.
So we're going to extend this show a little bit and do a feature on a subject, well, sort of pistols and shotguns. This pistol right here is called a Thompson Center Contender. Now, it's a single-shot pistol, 1 shot at a time. You won't see any of the thugs using it. I mean, it's not a practical gun for a criminal, but it is practical for target shooting. There's all kinds of target shooting you can do. The barrels are interchangeable, They do make one barrel that's actually a rifle cartridge barrel that is identical in size to a .410 shotgun shell. And this is a 44 long Colt, or 45 long Colt, excuse me, that can fit in there. And what do you do with a single shot pistol that can handle a shotgun shell? Well, believe it or not, you can shoot skeet with it. Well, maybe you can shoot skeet with it. I had kind of a rough time. Bullet.
Skeet shooting is difficult enough with 12-gauge shotguns, let alone .410 handguns. Shooting skeet doesn't take a lot of equipment. A shell pouch is the primary accessory where you keep your loaded rounds and one for your empties.
Bullet.
A shooter calls for the bird by saying pull or pull it. Actually, there's no pulling involved and there's no birds. The targets are clay pigeons that are stacked in an automated target thrower. Years ago, the thrower was cocked by hand. Now it's all done by an electric remote control. In skeet, there's a high house and a low house where the camera is right now. The targets alternate from house to house.
Bullet.
The shot from the shotgun shell travels at about 1,300 feet per second after the trigger is pulled, and the clay pigeons are flying at about 125 feet per second, which means the shooter has to point the gun in front of the bird, lead it before he fires. The recoil pushes the barrel up before the shot hits. Hitting these targets with a handgun is considerably more difficult than with a long gun. The shooting stance is different too for handgunning. Feet apart, facing the skeet house. The .410 shell we're using is small, but that's not the main problem. What makes this so challenging is the fact that your wrists pivot.
Bullet.
This shooter's wrists are solid, and he hits these fast-moving pigeons time after time. One minor bend in the wrists would throw the shot string off target. Duplicating this skill time and again takes practice, something I found a little frustrating, frankly.
Pull.
That is so fast.
My second shot gave me a false sense of accomplishment.
Pull. There you go. Okay.
My next 20 shots, they were all clean misses. I consistently shot low and behind.
All goes on the swing of your gun and keeping your barrel flat.
Okay, so what was I doing wrong? Show me what I was doing.
What you was doing when you were swinging on a bird, you swing fast, keep up the bird, and then you slow down. Get ready to pull the trigger, and you slow down. A lot of guys even too, you'll start cocking the bird when you go to squeeze the hammer. You want to make sure you look flat on the plane. No sights. Don't.
Well, you know that sight is distracting.
It is. So you try to concentrate, not have nothing there, and just keep the bird right in front of the thing. If you got your 1.5 lead, you want to keep your same 1.5, the same swing. And you don't want to swing with your arm, just with your hips.
Hold it, just with your hips?
Yeah.
I wonder if I was doing that. Just with your hips, huh?
Yeah. You don't want to move your arms. You move your arms, that's when you start cocking your barrel up and down. That's where you got to concentrate, keeping the barrel flat and just swinging from the hips.
You can do all the chalk talking you want, but analyzing this sport won't break the pigeons. There's only one way to become good at handgun skeet: practice, practice, and more practice. Breaking a clay pigeon on the skeet range with a handgun has to be the ultimate accomplishment.
That's the tough way to break clay pigeons with a .410 shell. I prefer to use a 12 gauge. Get out and practice on our Practical Sportsman NRA clays machine. Maybe you can come and try that one of these days. Get outdoors this weekend if you can. It's a great place to be. See you next week.
Next week on The Practical Sportsman, I'm going to do a tribute to really the original Practical Sportsman, known for 23 years on television as Mr. Michigan Outdoors, Mort Neff. 3 years ago this month, in fact, it was just about this week when he passed away at 86 years old. In his many years, he laid the format out for many of us who have copied and followed his type of outdoor programming. Mr. Michigan Outdoors is a man who we miss and who you will learn about next week. That same time, same station, right here on The Practical Sportsman.